To the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan. And I got a little bit of an opener here. Now it's going to seem kind of random at first, but I'm just going to go into it and we'll see where it leads, okay? So this is a article from the San Francisco Examiner by Alora Dudnik. And I'll just start... Dudnik, yes. San Francisco is suing a landlord allegedly letting his rental properties in the Richmond district and Nob Hill fall into such a state of despair that rodents took up shop, feces accumulated, and doors and windows were left broken.
Did you say rodents took up shop? It just reminds me of, like, I just picture a bunch of rodents, like, fucking start up a wood shop, and they got, like, some saws out there, and they start fucking building their homes and everything. One's like smoking a cigarette over the corner, like, yo, what do you fucking want? Huh? I'm building a fucking house here. What do you fucking do?
You walk in like, the fuck you looking at? The fuck you looking at? They get all like alpha male and shit.
You gonna fucking for a union here? The fucking rodents union? One of them comes out like a wife beater with like a fucking little like hard hat on. It's almost sort of cute but threatening.
So,
But I hear that the great presence of evil has come to this area, but continue on.
You'll see it in just a minute. The city attorney's office filed the lawsuit Wednesday against a Yik-On Wong.
The evil Dr. Wong has come to strike again in San Francisco. San Francisco's own evil warlord, Mr. Dr. Wong. He may seem like a nation stereotype, but he is.
In every way possible. No.
He even fought Kurt Russell back in the 80s.
That was probably him. No, only minus the charm that guy had. So now it goes on to say the addresses, which for I'll leave out. And says Wong reportedly ignored numerous building code violations, abandonment orders issued by the Department of Building Inspection over the years, despite continuing to collect rent from tenants. For more than a decade, Wong has refused to meet his most basic obligations as a landlord, including providing heat to his tenants. Know that one. City Attorney Dennis Herrera told San Francisco Examiner. They go on the heart of habitability and safety for these properties and include ignoring unpermitted electrical wiring, unstable deck and stairs could really endanger the life and safety of tenants. Then it kind of goes on to more things about like, yeah, we're going to go after this, gas leaks, all that. So, yeah, I know a famous person.
Yeah, the evil Dr. Wong is, your arch nemesis of San Francisco.
My landlord is
If you were part of the Teen Titans or the Solo Titan, you have to fight off the evil Dr. Wong.
I'd like to think, God, I mean, I'm not cool enough to be Cyborg. Plus, I'm not black, so that's not going to happen. And I'd like to think...
Malcolm X, we're all black.
What?
According to Malcolm X, we're all black. I keep telling people that because, he said...
Well, Malcolm said it.
The black man created the white man. Come on. It's in a fucking book.
Well, if Malcolm said it.
Yeah, exactly. What, you're not going to trust his opinion?
Robin, I guess I'd like to be Robin. Robin would be cool, but I don't know. I just feel like you got to work up to Robin. I just don't want to be fucking.
So what are you, Beast Boy?
I don't want to be fucking Beast Boy. I'll settle for Blue Beetle. I'll settle for that. But
yeah. Blue Beetle's always a good one to be. Can't go wrong with Blue Beetle.
He's kind of like the Green Lantern / Iron Man kind of fusion to his extent. But I'll take Blue Beetle.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I don't know how we got to that, but yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, what you've been dealing with is you got the evil Dr. Wong has been mentioned in San Francisco. What was it, Chronicle or Times or whatever the fuck?
Examiner. San Francisco Examiner.
So the secondary one, but still, that means it's climbing up.
Yeah, well.
And the fact is that you're the guy. You're funding his actions and you're taking his abuse.
I'm funding his evil empire. Just by Nah, well, shit's gonna change. But yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny. It was literally the first time I got kind of I know kind of a famous person that I'm reading the address. That's my address.
Wait a second, that's me who's being tortured. I'm the one who's not getting the heat. I'm the one who's put in a fake room. I'm the one who had, all these problems. Wait a second, that's me.
Look at we don't have we don't have a shit problem going on, but sorry for the guy who does, But as I'm reading this thing, no, but it is one of those things while I'm reading this, I'm just like, wow. I'm sort of famous right now that I'm realizing. Not that I really am, but I talk into a microphone to the internet like every like week for the last like 3 years. It's like, oh wow,
almost 4 years too, going almost on our 5th year.
Oh shit! When does it'll be July?
July. When July comes up, it'll be our 4-year anniversary.
July 21st, if you're going by
Batman standards.
By Batman years, yeah. It's 4 years. No, it's it goes by when Dark Knight Rises came out was when we recorded our first episode, but I don't think it got posted till like a week later or something like that.
Yeah, probably was only a couple days later, but yeah.
But
speaking of Batman, they had the DC Rebirth that came out, and this is probably one of the best fucking deals you can possibly get. It's like $3 for something that's about almost 3 issues thick. And no ads whatsoever, and it's a fucking awesome story. I kid you not. Like, that's one of those ones where you kind of sit down and you're like, okay, let's just see what this is all about. I know that they're going to change things around, and we're going to have to learn a whole new program of DC worlds, kind of like we did with the New 52. Though I never really complained about the New 52. We seem to like it more than the average Joe did.
Well, we read I didn't read every New 52 book. I just read Swamp Thing.
If anybody read every single one, either hopefully you're getting paid to do that, or you just must live in like some like mansion where you're like, Father, could you bring me every issue of the New 52?
Well, the New 52 I read, I was reading Batman, I was reading Swamp Thing, I was reading Superman but fell behind, and then Flash and fell behind. But I liked what I read of those. Superman started to kind of go off the rails a little, but
and then what I read to kind of like, I read some of the ones you did like that, but I also did Nightwing, which turned into Grayson. I read Black Canary. I read Batgirl. And I read other ones too. I'm drawing a blank on what the fuck they were. I did some of like the other Robin stuff. Like I guess it is sort of New 52. But there's like, there's some of them like I went like, I read like the first Batman and Robin ones, and then I kind of fell into like, other series and so on. You just kind of progress how things go. And I read the Green Lantern ones until Jeff Johns left, and then I feel bad because I didn't know Jeff Johns. Well, I'm fucking done with this Green Lantern.
They kind of did that with Swamp Thing to a certain. I mean, I wasn't done with it, but like Swamp Thing, it was somewhat of a continuation of Alan Moore stuff. So, and Scott Snyder was almost doing kind of like. He left it open so it can continue, but it's kind of like you could tell for him personally, this was supposed to be the last Swamp Thing story, and it kind of went on for 3 volumes. And they brought in the new guy, and that's where I was kind of like, all right, let's see how this fucker does. And I kind of come in, just that thing you have, whenever you like a writer and they suddenly change it, you immediately can't help it. I mean, I try to be open, but you can't help but be immediately defensive. Like, you're not Grant Morrison, but then you actually start reading it like,
pretty good.
Oh, this actually is pretty good. Where Superman kept on, like, it just seemed a little off key. I plowed through. I was kind of plowing through that. I got another book I got to get through real quick. But Batman stayed good the whole time for the most part. So,
Going to this DC Rebirth, it's all written by Jeff Johns for this one. And what this story is, it's really cool. It's all about fucking Wally West. He keeps going through the time stream, and he's from the old universe. He's from the pre-New 52 world, and he's fucking running. He's like, somebody's got to know who I am. And then he shows up to Batman, and he appears out. So maybe it's like, I don't know if it's a tie-in to like Batman v Superman. He's like, Batman, Bruce! And Bruce is like, what the fuck is this? He's like, what the fuck are you, Barry? It's like, no, I'm Wally. Do you remember? Remember me? And then he's kind of looking, he's like, your dad left you a note. And then he kind of disappears because he's kind of referring all to like Flashpoint stuff too. Because he's using Flashpoint. Maybe I did know this, but I don't know. I kind of got this sort of, where it's like, Flashpoint is sort of like what created the New 52. Through that, when Barry changed everything, he's like, oh fuck, I kind of messed up. Well, I better go back. And when he came back, he didn't get everything right again. So it went into New 52 world where people started becoming different individuals and some people stayed the same and so on. Like, it was sort of explaining that. So then Barry's, or not Barry, but Wally's, he's fucking trying to get to everybody else. You know, he shows up to like Cyborg. He's like, Cyborg, you remember me? He's like, get the fuck out of here. And then he goes to somebody else. He's like, Dick! And then Dick's just like, who the fuck is that? There's like, nobody remembers Wally West. Because apparently maybe Wally West wasn't in the New 52. I didn't really notice this.
He was, they made him.
But was Black Wally West?
Yeah. And his outfit was silver and red.
That guy at some point. But the original Wally West wasn't part of the New 52. So he's this guy. He's like literally the man out of time, running in trying to like discover people. And they have like all this cool little stuff along the way because you get to see all the different characters and stuff, but it's all narrated by Wally. You know, they get to the point where like the Atom gets stuck in the time stream and he has this like poor like Asian sidekick guy or whatever who's like working for him. And you know, he comes in and like nobody can find out where Ray Palmer is, and he busts in. He's like, and there's this message. He's like, I can't remember the kid's name. He's like, Mr. Hong Kong. He's like, if you're reading this, I'm trapped in the time stream or whatnot. He's like, and you got to do this. And just let everybody know that I ain't fucking coming back. I ain't paying my bills. I got fucking shit to do. He says it kind of better than this, but that's almost how it comes across. It's a little bit more lovey-dovey. And then he gets to the point where he's like, he almost fucking like, he's like, I want you to fucking take over everything I've been working on, but I'm going to really quickly, I'm going to fucking insult you. Because I know you hate the outdoors. I know you're not good at sports. I know you're scared of heights. You got fucking allergies. You're partially retarded. He doesn't say that, but he just keeps going on this list. He's like, but that's okay, because you know what? Here's a belt. This belt will give you all the courage you need. Because I know you're a total fucking loser.
The Blue Beetle left this? Or the Atom left
this?
No,
the Atom left this. It's just like insulting this guy.
Leaving him to be the next Atom or whatever?
I think so. So something like that. And then as it keeps going on, you know, it's fucking Wally keeps running in. It goes through like everybody, you know. You see a little bit of Wonder Woman. You see a little bit of fucking Green Arrow and stuff. And he's talking about, he's like, well, I remember, like, you know, with Green Arrow, his life was different. It's like him and Black Canary, they see each other. They make this connection, but they don't know why. They don't know why they have this connection because they don't know each other in this New 52 world. Mm-hmm. You know, he's like, but, you know, back in the day, they were. And then they keep going on. And the fucking end of it, I don't even know if I want to say it because it is such a fucking, like, you're like, the fuck? So, like, you realize that they bring something really fucking big.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. I don't know. Uh-huh. I have actually not looked
because it might have been spoiled already. That's the only thing. Because nowadays people will probably be like, just throw it out there. But it's almost so cool you don't almost want to spoil it.
Just tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. Because I really don't know what it is exactly. Is it something? This is just me guessing. Did they bring Thomas Wayne Batman into the main continuity?
Well, he's there in this too because they keep all the Flashpoint stuff kind of going on. No, it's something you would not even guess. It's DC, but it's not main DC.
Some Static Shock type stuff, or even Watchmen. No, Watchmen. They're bringing Watchmen into it.
Yep, it's Watchmen fucked everything up. It's kind of like what they kind of come to conclusion. You know, and then finally, what happens to Wally is because each time he tries to meet somebody, he has a hard time. He's like, I'm gonna break apart if somebody can't remember me. That's all I'm looking for, someone to remember me. And he finally gets to Barry, and he's like, Barry, and then Barry's like,
he just talk in big, bold, like exclamation points the whole time?
Well, it looks like that because he comes in, you know, there's like time forces shooting out everywhere, and he's like coming out like in this like whirlwind of like time and space and so on. And so it just makes it seem like it's so like important, like somebody fucking remember me. I was technically the third Flash. He's like, you know, he's like, fuck, almost Tim Drake could have been this too. Fucking like, somebody for Christ's sakes remember me. But at least Tim Drake, I guess, had more screen time in the New 52 than fucking Wally West did. But he finds Barry, and Barry can't think for a moment. He's like, who the fuck is this? You know, he's like, I don't know who you are. I really don't. He's like, you gotta remember, goddammit. And then all of a sudden, like right as fucking Wally's disappearing, you can see his body kind of like, you know, fading away and everything like that. Barry goes, no, and he grabs him, pulls him on. Now he's like, I fucking remember. And it goes through his whole life. He's like how he first met him, how, you know, they turned to Kid Flash, becoming the Teen Titans and so on, like in this one like kind of big panel thing. And he goes, you're fucking Wally West. I remember you. And they have this hug and this moment and everything like that. And that right there finally clicks him back into this world. And then, you know, he kind of goes in and he goes like, there's something else that's messing us all up though. It's because Barry first goes, he's like, did I fuck everything up? Was it me? Really? Like, you know, I tried to save my mom, and for one, it messed everything up. Then I thought I fixed it, but clearly I messed it all up again. And so, you know, he's like, no, man, it wasn't you. there's something else out there that's fucking everything up.
Is there like that's pretty cool. I actually gotta check that out now.
You got go check it out because it's like for $3. This is actually a really sweet one because sometimes you kind of go like whenever you got maybe multiverse things or combine like those things, you're like, it's gonna be be okay, but there's just more like that.
So are they?
The one thing about this book, if this was one of the first DC books you grabbed, you would be so fucking confused on what's going on because you almost have to have like extensive DC knowledge to like know what's going on for this.
Well, is this thing just kind of like a rebranding or is it an official reboot? Because
it's not really a reboot. It's more like, okay, you got the old world, and then you have it like where it's like where the Flashpoint kind of changed everything, and then when Barry tried to fix everything, that created the New 52 is sort of how they're explaining this. And now I think what they're doing is they're trying to merge like the old world to kind of come through the New 52 and come all together into some DC Rebirth.
Okay, well,
because it ends right there with like you figure out it's like the Watchmen. Something has like these guys have something to do with it, and Batman finds a clue and he finds the happy face with the blood on and everything like that, and they keep talking about the Watch and all this stuff. So that comes through and then it kind of just ends.
So it's like, does it end on like a panel of all of them, like of seeing the Watchmen, or just you see the happy face with the blood on it?
It kind of like that, and then there's a couple other ones. Nobody, you don't see any of the Watchmen guys or anything like that.
I bet it's something. I mean, this is just a guess, and I actually got to read the book. I'm wondering one of two things. I'm wondering if it's like the giant like squid thing at the end of the book, if that's some at the ripple through time and space or something messed up with their timeline somehow, Or if they're gonna.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe something like that.
Or if it's something to the effect of like that combined with maybe they're actually going to try and have a continual Watchmen series within the DC universe, or they'll just have a monthly series that's in its own universe, but once in a while they hop through a portal like, oh, hey, look, it's Batman or whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do because like it's on the list of things, the Watchmen's not on there. And the weird thing too is I was looking at all the ones coming out in the next couple months because they're doing things where like they got Batman and Green Arrow and so on. And I don't know if they're going to consolidate like a lot of their other stuff because I'm kind of wondering if series like Black Canary and stuff like that, is that going to go away? Because it looks like she's going to be a prominent character in Green Arrow again. So the Black Canary series might be disappearing and things like that.
Well, they can go away, but then they can come back like in a month or two.
Yeah, so it's like, well, the weird thing too also I noticed is Scott Snyder's not, I don't see his name on anything. Or Greg Capullo.
Isn't he on Batman All-Stars?
Maybe that's Batman All-Stars, but he's not on Batman anymore.
Yeah, I heard I'm not sure if he just left, he says, I'm done with my run, or if he got the boot, because I know that, I haven't read it yet, but the last volume of it at least, but the most recent run where it's Robo Gordon, they're going against Bloom and all that, I heard that got some negative reaction at the end, which I like the first part, we'll have to see what happens at the end, but, which that seems kind of shitty after doing Batman for so long and having a fantastic run, just having one that's not as strong, and then because plus you gotta give them credit. They did something different. They focused on Gordon for a little while, which is different, and they created some new villains, which everybody always wants to focus on Joker, Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Two-Face. So when they want to mix it up a little bit, you gotta. Yeah,
it's probably not again, but I mean I could see if he wanted to take a break from it and do something else because obviously, they've been doing it for what's it been
since 2011, I believe, or 2012.
Yeah,
whenever.
So they've been doing it for. It seems like it's been longer than that, but I guess it's only been 5 years. Well, but that's still a long run.
He was back,
and technically he did Batman books before that too.
Yeah, so. Before the New 52, he was kind of like the hot young writer on like a couple of Batman books before that, and then it's like, all right, well, who's going to come in on 52? You are. It's like, oh, fuck me, But he actually did a great job. So
yeah, I mean, I can see that because at some point we all knew that was going to end, and that probably would be the ideal place just to leave it off, just be like, hey, you guys can just be the New 52 guys, and let's start here, and then Scott Snyder can jump onto other stuff. You know what I mean? Like just like every other writer, they gotta go expand stuff around. But it was weird though because I just thought I expected to see his name on. Yeah, I expected to see his name on just something. And it was like, there's nothing in there. It's like, not even like any other. I expected even like a random book. It would have been kind of cool if it was like, oh, he's doing fucking Green Lantern or something like that. Like that would have been kind of interesting. But
yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure I saw his name on All-Star Batman unless that changed. But I'm curious to know what that is. Because all that only promotional art I saw for that was just like it was a black cover with like scratchy looking outlines of just the main villains. So I'm wondering, is this a book about the villains or something? But we'll see what happens. But
and what that might be too is he might be doing maybe he's doing like kind of like side story Batman stuff. Like he's not gonna be the main series anymore. He's gonna do just kind of like, which seems like what most people do once they kind of almost get to like sort of like a prime. It's like they almost do like, here's a 6-issue run, and that's all you're gonna do. You know what I mean? Which that's probably the way to go, anyways.
Yeah.
But what it seems like the Rebirth's gonna do, it's gonna be more of a, almost feels like it's gonna be more classic style, I guess you could say. Instead of being kind of like new and hip, they're gonna go more like, let's just be like what we strive to be in the first place. So I'm kind of, to me that sounds like it's gonna be even better. Even though as much as I like mostly all the New 52 stuff, I think there were some of them when they were trying to make them like a little bit different and hip. It was kind of like, well, that's okay. I see what you're doing, but there's a reason why we like this character the way they are.
Speaking of which, on that, they are, I mean, not exactly young and hip, more kind of like in negative direction. I guess they started a new Captain America series called Captain America Steve Rogers, and this had like, after the first issue, the whole internet just went fucking nuts. The writer is Nick Spencer. I never read any of Nick Spencer's stuff.
He writes a bunch of stuff. I see his name everywhere.
It ends with, I heard it ends with Captain America throwing Union Jack out of a plane and saying, "Hail Hydra," and then implying that Captain America was taken in by Hydra as a kid, and Hydra was running S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of like how it was in the Winter Soldier, but Captain America was a deep cover Hydra agent. Now, one of two things is happening here. Well, definitely they're trying to fucking push a lot of, like, what the fuck? Because there's a bunch of death threats, and I read an interview with Nick Spencer, and he just seems so kind of like, yeah, this is what we were expecting, and, I'm kind of like, I'm just, it shows people are still passionate about the character, just like, oh, you fucking troll, But, like, he's just like, yeah, I looked at some of the tweets, kind of like, I hope you die, why'd you make Captain America a Nazi? Like, all this kind of shit. And it's one of those things where I bet one of two things is going to happen. They're going to Deus Ex Machina this shit where, actually, it was just a bad dream, or that wasn't really Steve Rogers, I was a clone, and we got false information. They're not going to fucking go off on that.
Well, yeah, it's not really Deus Ex Machina.
This is literally, I mean, this just seems kind of like a big, like, thing they do just to get people to start reading the book, whether it be out of rage or out of just curiosity. And then it's kind of like Spider-Man, like another day where they had this whole thing, like Spider-Man revealed his identity to the world, Aunt May got shot, he was about to like reveal, he was about to marry Mary Jane, and then what happens? Basically the devil comes in and says, yo, here's what's gonna happen, I'm going to reboot this stuff so you're back to square one. Nobody knows you're Spider-Man. Just like, oh, fuck you. After that big run, all this shit going down, you do that? Go fuck yourself,
Well, Marvel has a problem with doing that. I see they do that quite often. They do those shocking issues, and I think it's literally just publicity stunts. It's one of those things. I don't think anybody should really take too much of that stuff too serious. It's just like, yeah, okay, that's just going to be some little like weird turn, and then he'll be back to regular Captain America in no time. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure about
it's funny how serious some people take that kind of stuff.
I'm not taking it seriously. I know, because whenever they die, this is basically the equivalent of a superhero dying. Back when the first 2 or 3 happened, you're like, oh my god, Superman's dead, and then like someone else died, like, oh my god, Barry Allen's dead. They eventually come back. They always come back. So I bet this right here, it's probably one of those things. It's probably not even real. It's probably just like a dream, or he's probably under mind control. And I didn't even read the book, but if they did decide to suddenly make him into like a Nazi, well, fuck you. But if either way though, it just seems just kind of like a publicity stunt, just because all these eyes are on the character,
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what it is when you break it down. It's just that, but to me it's always weird when people take that so. Maybe it's probably, I bet you they put that out there just so they could get a lot more press over DC Rebirth. I bet you anything that's all it had to do with.
Yeah,
because it's all like it's so timed out perfectly.
And because
that seems like Marvel seems like they like to do that. They like to block DC no matter what. Like they're literally like the biggest cock blocks to DC.
Joe Quesada,
like whenever DC tries something, they just like literally go, well, guess what we'll do? We'll make Captain America a Nazi. That will get more press than fucking DC Rebirth. You know that DC Rebirth was probably way cooler. We'll do that because that will make people angry. You know.
That I believe that, you know, because even like there's an interview Kevin Smith did with Joe Quesada again on Batman on Batman, and Kevin Smith even brought that up. So you can't deny. It seems kind of weird. He's just like, how are we gonna know what they're gonna post that day? It just kind of happens. Like, you mean you tell me you don't got something waiting in the wings just in case? You guys just stack up your deck and just kind of wait, like unleash it now. You mean you tell me you don't do that? It's just no, man, we don't do that. It's like, oh, fucking bullshit.
Yeah, and something I think that's also like these are always the reasons why like I kind of like, you know, DC comes across more classy. That comes across as like a 15-year-old kid like tried to like show off, be much cooler to like the girl. Like, and I think that to me it's like to me like I kind of go, well, this is why like when I pick up Marvel books, I pick up the most randomest ass books that like don't really like, you know, are trying to be radical or weird or something like that.
Well, I was reading Captain America. I mean, I read the trade paperbacks, so I'm always like 6 months behind or so. It looks like I don't know where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna wait here where this thing goes out. I got to read some of Nick Spencer stuff before I totally judge it. Who knows? Maybe he's really going somewhere cool with it, but I don't know. It just sounds like a publicity thing. The thing about this, sometimes it's not even always just the writer. Sometimes they have some big grand story. Like, okay, we want this, and this to happen. You're gonna write it. Just make sure we get to those points. You know?
Yeah, no, that's totally true there. So it's probably just gonna be that, and then there'll be some weird turnaround, and you know it'll all come together. But like, just speaking of another Marvel one, we had X-Men 9 come out.
Is it really X-Men 9? All right, so you got
fucking
X. All right,
it really
X-Men
is because 1, 2, 3, both the Wolverines. That's 5. Fucking First Class, Days of Future Past, Deadpool. Am I missing one? And then this one, 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus, I guess there's 9.
So we're literally on X-Men. It's weird to think that there's that many X-Men movies, but also, as far as it's kind of been, that's sort of like the first of, I guess, the modern generation of, you know, superhero films.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I'll say this one right here, it's been getting a lot of negative press, and at first I wasn't like, I was kind of, I don't really take like online criticisms too seriously, but I heard a lot of fans of the comics actually complain about it too before, you know, like, ooh, okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Well, that's weird because it had like a bunch of positive press and then it kind of turned negative for some reason. It was weird. It went back and forth.
And then when I went to go see it, it's like, all right, we'll see how this goes. And then I watched it, I'm like, because going into the movie, I already kind of like, I was going to see it, but I wasn't dying to see it just because I feel a little, I don't know, I guess X-Men just doesn't, I like X-Men, but it just doesn't hook me like it used to. Maybe because by this point we've had so many other superhero movies, and X-Men to a certain degree, even though most of them are good, they still feel like they're kind of like they got the kid gloves on to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not that they have the kid gloves on. I just feel like they're still all the X-Men movies still always feel like they were made in the early 2000s. Like,
yeah,
you know, they haven't progressed. That's the only reason why I wouldn't be like, if they said like we're just going to start the X-Men again from scratch, that would be one of the ones where I would be like, you know, that's kind of fine. They had a good nice run with their fucking Matrix, you know, X-Men. So it would be fine to see them actually go just reboot it and then just go full X-Men. You know what I mean?
Because I'm no X-Men expert, but I notice X-Men, it's always kind of like we always kind of focus on one of these 3 or 4 characters, and then on top of that, it's always kind of a lot of gray, a lot of black, a lot of dark blue, and you know, as they go on, they get a little bit more colorful. And like Psylocke actually looked like Psylocke in this movie.
Which is kind of funny because it's like the only character, which it almost makes it stand out kind of weird because it's like, okay, she's totally in her regular costume, but nobody else is, so it seemed kind of strange.
Magneto's kind of resembled.
Oh yeah, well Magneto's costumes always look, you know, pretty good throughout all the movies because there's always a handful of characters that do have a pretty good costume, and yeah, Magneto's did too, but it just kind of felt funny because the other ones. I'm not saying they didn't look good, but they still looked like they were all in, you know, pretty much 2000s X-Men, where Psylocke felt like she was almost out of place. I don't mean that in a bad way, because I think she did look really good, but she almost felt like she could have been in the X-Men reboot, but she got pulled into this one. And then, I mean, the movie does end, and it's kind of like, oh, finally, there's a cool costume for Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, and all the characters, you know, but it's kind of like, I kind of wish that those costumes would have came like halfway into this movie. Because the only kind of downfall I think to this movie is, even though I actually enjoyed it, I thought it was really good, I had a good time with it, but it felt like it was another origin story. And the downfall of the X-Men movies is there's literally about 4 origin stories out of these 9 movies, and that's a lot of origin in it, because you can say the first one's kind of an origin story, but they do it sort of a smart way where the only person's real origin story it is for more than anything, it's just Rogue. She's supposed to be the relatable character, like, hey, you're coming into this, and Cyclops, Jean, Storm, they've already been here. They already had their origin story. So I mean, I understand that like these characters didn't have their origin story yet, so by now we're doing it. But then then you got Wolverine's origin later on.
First Class.
And you also got Deadpool's origin. Then you also got First Class. So there's another origin. So the only downfall is like they just keep origin. I know it's like the thing is like they got to do the origin for each character, but it just feels like origin after origin after origin, and to a point where it's like I just want to see the X-Men just being the full-on X-Men, and we don't have to worry about trying to explain how they got here and how they did this. And I think that's the only kind of downfall of this one. Is this one just felt like it was just a big origin once again, almost, because it's like, okay, well, here's Cyclops for the first time, here's Jean for the first time, here's even Apocalypse for the first time. I mean, that's kind of the fine one for the fact. But then you start kind of going, and who else was fucking Storm? Here's her origin. Here's sort of Psylocke's origin, sort of, not really, but so you just kind of kept getting these origins once again. And then though the movie's good, it's like, okay, here's the thing, probably X-Men 10 will be fucking sweet, because it feels like it'll be all dialed in finally, and we won't have to have some weird origin, and they'll fight Mr. Sinister, and it'll already be, okay, here's Cyclops, here's fucking Jean, they're all good to go now. They've been doing it for 10 more years or something like that.
If they get to 10, I could see them just doing one where now they're going after Mr. Sinister, like you said. I could see them just rebooting it all together after this, possibly. Not saying
I feel like they'll probably do. They should do one more, because if they did one more, that would perfectly complete it all. You just do the 90s one now, because they already were introducing Mr. Sinister at the end of this movie. So
who is I didn't really know the post
the Essex thing. That's like his like other name.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty much like it was Mr. Sinister was going in there collecting all this stuff, which that's what he does. Because he's in a sense he was enhanced by Apocalypse as well. So it all kind of ties in there. So so
that wasn't him. Those were just men working for him, basically.
Yeah, I mean the Strikers guys.
Okay. Those guys not Strikers, but the other guys coming in with the suitcase at the end.
I think that was supposed to be Mr. Sinister, the guy with the suitcase, because it has his name on it.
Oh, okay.
But I think it was before, he looks like Mr. Sinister and so on.
Oh, okay. I just always remember just being a big, I know.
Yeah, big guy, white face, little like red diamond.
Blue, like armor and all that.
So I think they should do X-Men. Plus, that sounds like a nice solid number. 10, just, end it right there. You know what I mean? Well, I guess it'd be 11 because you'd have Wolverine as well. But like if let's just say they did the X-Men 10 and the Wolverine one. And then from that point on, I think what they should do is, because they're not going to have Hugh Jackman by that point, so you might as well just reboot it just to get. And the thing to do would be, let's just reboot it. Let's just have it start off with, even if you have the main character, Cyclops, Jean, all that stuff like again, but let's just do it like, boom. They're already, they've already been X-Men for 10 years, these guys, you know what I mean? And then you could bring in a couple kids, too, to be like your kind of relatable characters to get used to, like if you've never been in this X-Men before. But then slap them in kind of like more X-Men-looking outfits. Who cares if it looks kind of... Because you realize that once you see other characters like in their full-on outfits, it doesn't really look that weird on screen. I think for the longest time people thought it was going to look silly. But, you look at Captain America, you look at Iron Man, you look at Psylocke, it doesn't look silly. Yeah, you look at Superman, it doesn't look silly. It looks great on screen, you know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta desaturate maybe a little bit, but even Wolverine, I think if you did the brown suit, I think that suit would look really badass in live action,
Which
the yellow one, the yellow and blue, I think that one you'd have to kind of like either desaturate or something like that. But I think the yellow and brown one would look really cool on screen.
Yeah, I will say something about this movie was in the trailer, the last trailer, they imply Weapon X and all that. I really think, as cool as that was, I really think that's a scene that probably they just should have been quiet about, because if he was there for the rest of the movie, helping him out, that would have been cool. But it really was, what is called a cameo, because it is a full scene of Wolverine going around slashing some fuckers up. But he doesn't have a speaking role. He's still just kind of grunts and like a wild animal and shit the whole time. And
that's probably the best scene in the entire movie. But I think that's another one too. It's like trailers. They got to stop making these trailers where they put all their material in the fucking trailer. Like this movie's another one that's kind of not as bad as other movies, but still they put everything in the movie pretty much was in the trailer, just about. And it's that sort of thing. It's just like, because that Weapon X would have been that part you'd be like, oh fuck, like that would have been so sweet. Because I mean, like once you got to Stryker's Island, you're like, oh fuck, Stryker's Island, 80s. Well, you would start piecing it together that or not Island, fucking Stryker's Dam, and you'd be like, you would start going like, oh, this is Wolverine's probably going to come there. And then when he finally does, and then fucking does the Weapon X thing where he busts out and he's got this, the fucking like controller, the headgear, all the recording stuff to like record his actions, and he's fighting his way through. That would have been such a sweet like surprise. And no matter, that was probably the best part of the movie. As he goes through, it's like, that's totally badass.
And here's the thing about that. When you think about that whole part of the movie, that really, I mean, I'm not putting it down because that is probably one of the best parts of the movie. That didn't even need to happen. That had nothing at all to do with the rest of the movie. So what they really could have done there is they didn't even have to advertise that. That would have been kind of like this cool little midway bonus scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was, now that I'm watching that, I'm expecting, okay, well, now they got to get Wolverine. And then Wolverine doesn't tag along with them. He just kind of runs off. Because
Wolverine doesn't come until X-Men 1, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's rebooting itself. It's all changing everything.
X-Men's probably like that.
X-Men 1 no longer exists by this point. So
well, I think it still does. I don't think it's like it doesn't exist. I think it's just things are slightly different now. That's just kind of how it is. You know what I mean?
I bet like Magneto's no longer a bad guy by that point. It implies that at the end of this movie because how many times could you have Magneto go, you know what, I've changed my ways. And then all of a sudden, oh, you killed my daughter! They're running out of shit to do. So eventually it's just going to reach this point where we're just I'll have Diet Coke. We only have Diet Pepsi. No! Like all the metal in the place starts flying up, So I'm pretty sure that I think there's, and plus Nightcrawler, they didn't meet Nightcrawler
and then he just
X-Men
randomly
2,
disappeared.
And he's part of the team in this one. And which I'm guessing that game that no one played that took place between 2 and 3, I'm guessing he probably died in that or went somewhere. Because I was going to see X-Men 3, like, where the fuck's Nightcrawler? Because that was my favorite character. But aside from Wolverine. But I bet what's probably going to... So X-Men 1, I don't think really... To an extent, it's probably still there. Like, certain events are, but I don't know.
It's kind of like... I think it's like multiverse stuff now.
And I think...
It's like, it's not like it doesn't exist, but it's just, it's kind of there, and things are different now. Well, because in this one too, it's like, because X-Men's probably it's the worst movie series of like totally messing up their own continuity without really even caring, because they just do it over and over. Because in a sense, Jubilee, she appears in 1 and 2, and then it's like she's in the 80s now. Well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but I accept that and go, whatever, that's fine. I mean, that's, even Emma Frost, she appears in Origins as a kid, but then she's like an adult in First Class. Once again, doesn't make any sense. And even Psylocke's in this one, but she's also in X-Men 3. Now, I'm not complaining about all this stuff, but it is kind of funny, their continuity, just goes back and forth of, these people's ages and stuff. And I guess you can do the timeline thing that changed everything, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even think that, I heard, they do this every once in a while, I heard, even though that I think X-Men 3 is probably the worst one. I heard that they actually removed Wolverine 1 entirely out of continuity. That's what I heard.
I just feel that's what negative Nancy's that don't like Wolverine Origins say. So I just say, fuck those guys. Fuck them up, stupid ass. Because I hate those people.
I don't even, here's my thing.
Because I love, Wolverine Origins, okay, it's a movie. It doesn't have to be, identical to the thing. But I think as far as a movie goes, that's a real fun movie. That's one of my favorite X-Men movies. It's action-packed through. It's got a great storyline. It's it's well-balanced. The pacing's great in it. And even though Deadpool's kind of they don't have him saying funny stuff, towards the end, it's well, whatever. It's they tried something different. I'm not going to complain about that.
Well, my thing is about that movie is I don't even, dislike it. I mean, I think it's all right. I mean, I don't... I remember liking it more when I first saw it, and then when I saw it a few more times, there are just some things about it that just kind of little logic gaps. Now, nothing that's going to totally kill or ruin the movie for me, but it sort of feels kind of like... It feels like they could have done anything, but they kind of did the standard, It almost felt kind of a little... It was kind of smaller, it felt a little cheaper than other, X-Men movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely does have that. I'm not going to say... Because, some of the special effects kind of stand out and things like that. But I think as far as just a movie goes... I think that one's just great. That's one of the best, I think, of the X-Men ones.
Okay, well, I think that I'll say this. I don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I think I have more problems with X-Men 3 than any of them, just because...
And even X-Men 3, that one was one of the ones I remember having problems with it back in the day, but when I rewatched it, I was like, I actually kind of enjoy this one. Yeah, it's got a couple weird things in it that kind of happen, but for the most part, it's still fun. I mean, the thing about the X-Men movies, they had never been like, what they're kind of missing is like, I just look at them as like their own interpretation. I don't try to compare them like 100% to the comics. I feel as long as they get them close, that's good enough. And hopefully, once again, when they do whatever new X-Men series they do, hopefully they'll just go full comic book and not even have to worry about, the other stuff. But, I don't know, like, I think that X-Men Apocalypse, even though it was good, the other downfall too is like there really was like no fucking action in that movie until like Wolverine showed up. There was like just minute bits of action. Like the closest thing to action was like, okay, fucking Magneto takes a watch or a pendant and fucking cuts 10 guys' necks with it. That was about your closest scene to like an action. I mean, that's cool, don't get me wrong. I like all those scenes and stuff, but it's like, I just remember sitting there for a while. I was like, for a 2.5 hour long movie, why the fuck have they not fought anything in like the first hour?
You had the whole cage fight between Angel and Nightcrawler.
Oh, I guess there was that one. That's true. There was that kind of scene, but it felt like it was like it just felt like it was missing a little bit of action in the beginning. And I don't know, it
was more like trying to do like the drama thing than more of an action movie for the first like
hour
act of it at least.
Yeah. And I think maybe this one, because the movie was like 2.5 hours long, and I will say it probably didn't have to be that long. I don't know if they were doing that just to kind of compete with Captain 3 and Batman v Superman. They must have all saw like, well, they all have long lengths, so let's make this one have a long length. And I know the last couple of X-Men movies had a pretty long length too, but
I think it's on top of introducing Apocalypse as well as being an origin story for like the main 3 or 4 X-Men.
Yeah.
It just takes some setup right there. I'm not defending that exactly. I just think that's really, I mean, I actually liked the movie more than I thought I was. I thought I was just going to walk out and think, it was all right. I thought it was going to be kind of like X-Men 3 for me, but then I liked it more than I did. I actually liked the movie, but, yeah, I did see its problems though.
Well, I enjoyed the movie. I'm not saying anything like it wasn't like I disliked it at all. It was just like it was a good movie. It kind of reminded me like one of those ones. And maybe I also thought this too. I'm like, well, after seeing both or seeing Deadpool, Batman v Superman, and Cap 3, it's going to be kind of hard to compete. It's like, what I mean? It goes back to like that Die Hard 5 thing. After seeing Last Stand, Bullet to the Head, you get so fucking amped up, and then when the third one's like not nearly as good as the other ones, you're kind of like, oh. And I think that's kind of how this movie was too. It's like, it's really good, but compared to those other 3, not nearly as good as those ones.
I actually, you know what? I feel a little bad saying this. A little bad saying this. I think I got to watch it again. I'm actually going to see it again today with Wes, but I might like this just as much as Batman versus Superman.
Like, I think on my first viewing, I'd probably say that, but the second viewing of Batman versus Superman, I liked it a lot more, so... I don't know, because this one, I'd say it's like a 3 out of 4 on the Leonard Maltin scale. And, I mean, overall, it got cool action. I think it was just missing sort of maybe just either a wow factor. And I just think that the origin part, I think that's sort of what kind of, I don't know, it felt like it was more like, it was sort of like I've been here, done this, sort of seen this, even though there were some new things to it. It was almost missing like that, what makes something feel kind of brand new and fresh. Sort of like, because that's sort of what Deadpool had, is it had that fresh thing. Now, obviously, this movie was made the exact same time as Deadpool, so it's not gonna, they're not, if they would have had the time before or the time after Deadpool, they probably could have made this one feel really fresh. But I think
it would have been.
But I think just by having it made the same time, because this was sort of their probably safe movie and Deadpool is their experimental movie, because they're like, well, we know we'll make a ton of money off X-Men. That's like the given. So we can experiment on Deadpool, and then realizing that the Deadpool experiment was fantastic, now they could probably really experiment on X-Men now.
I could see them possibly. Well, actually, no, I was going to say that. I was actually a little disappointed to see they didn't do more with Jubilee. I was like, okay, they gave Jubilee an actually speaking role, and she actually was hanging out with Scott and Jean and all that.
She had costumes and everything.
And then I was like, okay, and like, oh, she doesn't even like do the flashy hands once.
Yeah, well, I thought, they set her up like she was going to be, I thought she was going to be like one of the 5 main X-Men. I'm like, well, that would be kind of cool. It'll be, because I assumed it was going to be, you're going to have Scott, you're going to have Jean, you're going to have Nightcrawler, you're going to have Jubilee, and you're going to...
She actually even looks like Jubilee, too.
Yeah, like, she was really well set up, and I thought that, like, what the fuck else am I missing? But, like, Beast or somebody, even though he's kind of, they kind of made Beast almost more like the Professor's, like, buddy, so, like, he's not really, like, an X-Men. Which I actually think that works even better, though. That's sort of how you always picture Beast. He just seems, because he's always just seems older than everybody else anyways. But I thought that she was going to be literally, like, part of the core 4 of the X-Men. And then I was like, oh, no. Oh, I guess Storm. Storm would be the 5th one by the end of it. So that just seemed like a cool mix. And then it's like, yeah, then they just like, halfway through the movie, she's just never in it again. It's just like, that's it? You set her up so nicely. I don't know why you would not use her.
Yeah, she could have easily been one of the mutants that hit around the corner when like the little knockout gas stuff, and then she's like, "Oh, let's tag along and follow him." She very easily could have been that.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted it to be kind of like, okay, one, like, you know, I don't remember the whole team exactly, but maybe it was like, okay, one X-Men per like, what's the per
generation?
Not generation, but one X-Men per like per the Horsemen, because you know, like how you had the five, there's 4 Horsemen, there's Magneto. Actually, no, there's actually more X-Men already. Never mind, fuck that. Yeah, I don't know.
Because like,
but yeah, they had Quicksilver. They actually did something more with him, which he.
Oh yeah, and Quicksilver, and he's always really good. I like that guy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he plays a fantastic Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they have tons of fun scenes of him. They do that whole slow motion gag once again, but I feel like it works. If they do it again in like the next one, it might be maybe a little bit much, but I still think it's kind of a neat way to really show off. Like, to me, what it reminds me of is, you know, when you think of those early superhero movies, the whole point of them was always like, let's show off our fucking CG effects. Let's show off all this neat stuff. By now, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, fucking CG. We see it like in every movie, so it's not nearly as like magical. I feel Quicksilver almost kind of brings back that, you know, 2000s magic of like, oh fuck, you never seen this before. Mm-hmm. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Kind of like a funny bullet time kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's like bullet time, but it's like extreme bullet time, where, you know, bullet time's slowed down, but this is where it's like even like to a point of like where it's almost freeze frame, but just enough movement in there, which makes it kind of neat.
I thought it was kind of funny that they actually, well, actually not. It's kind of funny, but kind of sad at the same time. I'm waiting for someone to bring it up, like Quicksilver is like running through there doing all this funny shit, like moonwalking to like Sweet Dreams and doing all this funny shit to like get all the kids out of the house just with ease. And then like after this really cool funny scene, Scott's like, "Where's my brother?" He's like, I thought I guess I was too busy moonwalking and eating Twinkies. Like, save this girl's goldfish. To like, my bad, dude. Sorry.
I was kind of. I mean, they kind of explained. They're like, well, he was the one that was right next to the explosion because he fucking shot it at point blank range. Why the professor has this explosive generator down there to blow up the entire school?
I guess that's why you don't keep jet fuel beneath the children's playground.
Yeah, exactly. But
no, but that was still no. So don't be wrong. I still enjoyed this movie. It was still good. I just I don't know. I guess after First Class and Days of Future Past, I was just hoping this one would be as good as one of those two.
I felt like because it was almost like First Class was kind of like a surprise good one. Like you just kind of at first you didn't expect much of it, and then you kind of watch it like, oh, that's a really cool way of doing an X-Men movie. And then Days of Future Past was, I think what made that one really good too is because I like how it combined both the old or the original X-Men team and like your young one. And I think maybe that's almost what was missing in this movie. I don't know how you would have done it, but you just kind of almost go, you know, I wish they would just get back to the original X-Men, like, you know, actors and characters. Like, I would love to see an X-Men 4 when you really break it down. It's like, instead of keep seeing these prequel ones too, it's like nice just to go back and go, can we just get Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and all the guys back again and just do one of those X-Men movies? Because for fuck's sake, the longer we wait, the older those guys are going to get.
I don't think they are coming back.
I don't think so either. I think that's kind of like,
I think Days of Future Past was the send-off to the original crew, the original cast, with the exception of Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine, we always just need him. And I feel like until they reboot the X-Men fully, you know, probably Hugh Jackman will probably still have just like his little cameos in each one. He won't be a full actor anymore, but they'll probably still get him for like something like a Weapon X thing. The other thing that was kind of weird in this movie too, it's like, is when they kind of make Mystique, like they're almost making her like this really good character, and they're trying. She's almost like in this movie, she literally takes over the role of the professor because the professor almost gets like pushed down, like in the role he's supposed to be in, and like kind of gets knocked aside, and she almost takes over, which. To me, that literally just feels like, hey, this actress is the most popular actress. Well, put her face on there more than anything else. And it's kind of getting to the point where it's like, you know, she felt shoehorned in there almost. It was just kind of like, I don't have a problem with Mystique. I think that's fine. But like, one, it's like that character, it's hard for me to take that character in as being like a good person. I mean, I know they're trying to really like work that in there, but it's like that character's always been a bad guy the whole time. It's like, so now you're trying to work it in that she's pretty much almost like Professor's fucking right-hand man now, and she's like fucking training the X-Men and everything. Like, I don't know. Like, that was my only thing. It was just like, not saying anything against it, but, and then also the fact too, it's like, she's pretty much never in the Mystique costume very often. She's always kind of just walking around with herself, which you know that's the producers going, no, we need to get her she costs too much fucking money, so put her face on there the whole time. I felt like it almost broke, like, took me out of the movie, because now I'm just thinking, like, now you're just showing off an expensive actor the whole time. This is your fucking prize walking around.
In X-Men 2, in Days of Future Past, it made more sense because they were trying to... well, first off, Last Stand, she was known, but she wasn't huge yet. Not Last Stand.
First Class.
First Class. She was known, but she wasn't huge yet. I think Hunger Games was just about to come out. And then Days...
Or it might even been the same era.
Days of Future Past, though, that was the one where... Okay, well, she's incognito. She's kind of hiding the whole time, so I guess it makes a little bit more sense to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Where this one, she's walking around with the X-Men, just like regular form the whole time.
She got more screen time than probably anybody else in this movie. Like that, I think that's just the kind of thing. I just feel like she shoehorned in there just because of her popularity. And then, like, even at the end, it literally felt like a scene out of the Hunger Games. Like, just do what you did in those Hunger Games. Just do that, but you're talking to the X-Men instead. That's all it really is. And I was just kind of like, put the fucking professor. I don't want fucking Mystique talking to the X-Men. Get her fucking ass out of there. Put the professor in there. He is the goddamn fucking centerpiece of this whole series, and you're fucking putting him like, so he's looking at you all bald, like, and fucking the door closes on him. Like, yeah, that's where you belong, man. You go into your fucking Cerebro room and fucking jerk off. I don't give a fuck about you. Like, it's just like, I would rather have Magneto talk to the X-Men than anybody else. It's like, I don't know. I felt like that was so, like, let's just use the Hunger Games popularity and convert that into the X-Men. And I'm not saying anything against Jennifer Lawrence as far as her being Mystique and all that kind of stuff like that. And I don't really think it's her fault. I literally think it's the producers going, no, use your fucking popularity. You know? I
think that it's one of those things where I think in the context of the movie, it makes sense for her to maybe turn good at the last minutes of Days of Future Past and just kind of leave. Like, I was going to kill this fucker, but since you told me not to, like... All right, I'm just going to disappear. I'm just gone now. You know what I mean? Where then it makes sense for her to be kind of like a freedom fighter for mutants, going around just saving mutants. That makes sense. I think that I'm kind of on the page with you. Where she starts commanding the X-Men is where, like, this isn't my home, you know, just like...
Well, yeah, and she always just said, fuck this place, fuck your baldness. I'm not bald yet. Well, fuck it anyways.
You will one day. You will one day.
I always thought I had my good genes.
That's like one of those things, like, she's like he's just like looking in the mirror, like, one day it will grow back. One day it will grow back. Like, no, that's what happens when you, like, connect with, like, an Egyptian god. It's just you're just gonna lose your hair.
Lose all your hair, and that's it. It's
like, you gotta be shitting me. That's what happens when you hook up with an Egyptian god.
Yeah. But it's just one of those ones. I just felt, to me, I don't know. Maybe this also comes because I was kind of, you know, I went back and I was going to try to watch multiple X-Men movies, but then I only got around to watching the second one. I was going to watch the first one, but I'm like, you know, I've seen that first one so many times. Don't get me wrong, I love that first X-Men movie, but I'm like, I haven't seen the second one in a while. So I threw that one on instead, just to kind of, which was the smart choice because this movie really connects a lot to X-Men too. So I chose the right movie if I could have chose any of them. And I was rewatching that one again. It's just like you kind of watch Mystique in that one. It's kind of like, I like the way that they portrayed Mystique in the original X-Men ones. That to me feels more like Mystique because Mystique has always been that kind of character. She's sort of like a Magneto, where she's not a bad guy like Apocalypse or something like that. She just wants to do her own thing. So the idea of her being part of a team, like she was never really part of a team unless she was like the leader of her kind of like ragtag group of like other mutants she grabbed and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And even when she worked for Magneto, she's kind of like she was there, but she was almost like freelance. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't count on her to always be there.
And she was also kind of like she was even kind of cold to everybody, even people she's helping. Like there's a part where Nightcrawler goes up to her. She's like, "You could turn into them, even the voices." Yeah. It's like even the voices, like copies them, like that right there. It's like
even the voices. She's like, "I don't talk like that." It's like fucking
gets all defensive real quick,
you know.
No, I think that it's one of those things where they could have, like Mystique, they're just trying to expand on her in First Class, and then by the time they're working on Days of Future Past, like, oh my god, she's huge now. What did we stumble upon? Yeah, let's use her as much as we can.
Well, you know, it's the weird thing though about it is like, I mean, Mystique's technically been a huge character in pretty much all the X-Men movies, which is kind of weird because that was one of those characters was like, kind of like. Sort of like this hidden gem character, like in the comics. Like, yeah, she's always been there, but I felt the movies is what made Mystique become a really big character, though, more than anything else, because they utilized her as like almost like one of the main characters. And I think at first, I feel like the reason they chose her too in the beginning was like, we can do a really cool CG effect. I think that was literally why she was chosen, not because of like the character. I think that like the idea of her changing characters and we can do this really cool fucking transformation CG thing.
And I remember people actually. I remember seeing watching like X-Men and when I was a kid, like the first movie, and adults actually being, oh my god, that's kind of scary. The part when Senator Kelly's in the helicopter and she transforms, and I remember like I watched them. I was at like a friend's. I was like at my. It was like a friend of the family's house, and they're having like a big adult party, and I just like put on like X-Men. I just brought that with me. I'm just watching that at some point. Someone walks by like, shit, that's scary right there. Just like, oh, okay, like this is a comic movie. Like, yeah, it's comic.
As a kid, you're like, yeah, this is just normal.
And just that whole part, like, it was because of you. It was, what was the line? Like, it was people like you. I was afraid to go to school as a child. Like, kicks them in the face.
But I guess going back to Apocalypse, what was I talking about with like something about Mystique and so on? Oh, and the other thing too is like they kind of like. I kind of like how she finds Nightcrawler first, because that kind of goes to it, because Nightcrawler's supposed to be her son, but like in this one, I'm pretty sure it's not being. I don't know, it could be like, yeah, I had this fucking dumpster baby after first class.
When I was like 15.
I was in Germany, God knows what fucking happened there, and fucking tossed this thing in the trash when I saw what it looked like.
Isn't Azazel his father?
I can't remember who his father is. I'm trying to blank on that. I just know that Mystique's his mother.
The red Nightcrawler, basically.
And then,
but he dies after first class. There's like a bunch of them. That cast. That's one problem you kind of have with the X-Men films. Not just like individually, but each movie. It's just kind of like, yeah. I mean, like I said, I never really read a lot of X-Men, but I know that these are characters that have a big fan basis. So it's just like Emma Frost, Banshee, Angel. They're fucking dead.
Now, one character they bring back that actually has a really good role is Havoc, though. I think that, like, I like his character a lot in fucking Apocalypse. That was actually one of my favorite ones. I'm like, oh, sweet, bring him back. And it's kind of like he's the guy who says, like, yo, Scott, you got this problem. I got the place for you. Come on with me. Come on, who's your cool brother? Who's your cool older brother?
Grab him by the mullet, we'll fly there. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I got this cool 80s mullet. Come on, fucking, like, let's jump in my GTO. We'll fucking cruise over there. Whatever.
Listen to White Snake on the way there, man. Come on,
Come on, bro. Get some cocaine on the way, Professor.
Stop at the mall.
Man, fucking loves that shit. Yeah. Beast on the other, he's heroin all the way. I mean, fucking, he's shooting up every day just to not be the Beast. But, fuck it.
No, I don't know, because I can't see.
I can't fucking say.
Oh, you'll get over that.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. You almost killed your own bully. I remember when I did that in the 60s.
Oh, I miss Vietnam.
The weird thing about these movies, though, is the fact that these guys are supposed to be, like, literally, like, 40 years old by now, but the fact that they all look like they're, like, 28.
He has a brother, well, let's see. He must have...
Well, because you think about it, like, okay, in the 60s, like, they're, like, 20 years old, like, maybe a little bit older than that. Like,
the
Professor's probably, like, 25 there now. So then he's probably about 35, and Days of Future Past, and now he's probably about 45 years old. But he looks like he's like 30.
Let's just say, maybe to make
this weird X-Men like movie logic. So he's gonna be like fucking 50 years old in the next one, and he's gonna look like.
Oh, Havoc's dead.
No, I'm talking about the Professor.
Oh yeah. Well, let's just say that what's his name? Havoc is like. They do this all the time. Let's just say he's 16. Like all those X-kids, with the exception of Emma Frost and Azazel, are like probably 16 and like date in first class. Yeah. Then that would make them like 20 something and Days of Future Past, and this one they're like, they're still like in their mid 30s. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because they're all like way older than they look, but that's okay. I mean, X-Men logic. It's like whatever, that's fine.
James McAvoy just ages very well. Same with Eric Fassbender.
Exactly. Which those two guys are always great. And the one too, I love how they threw Nightcrawler back in there. Like that in itself, I'm just like, you got to have Nightcrawler. He's one of the coolest characters in X-Men. Might as well just be utilizing him. And I think
he was the best part of X-Men too.
Oh yeah, and he's close to being really good in this one too. I mean, because there's a lot of good in this movie. I still think just including like the fact that the weird things like it's another origin story, and I mean like. If this was like one of the few X-Men movies, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But once you've kind of seen the origin about 4 times with a bunch of characters, it's kind of like, oh, okay, more origin.
I will say with Archangel, I do feel like hopefully he comes back because like they just kill off Archangel. Like once again, like I don't really know the character that well, but I know he's an important character. So to have him like die
the funny thing is like it's another character too. It's like he's in the 3rd one, but he's also in this one too. Like
Well, maybe the time
the time frame messed up when these guys were born, but.
Their parents met way.
I did feel like some of the characters, because people just got really easily converted to Apocalypse. It was like, yo, you want to come join my team? Oh yeah, sure, that sounds cool. We're gonna take over the world.
Because Archangel's a good guy, isn't he?
No, well, Archangel's out of all those characters, he's like always has been the main fucking Apocalypse guy. But really, what Archangel? Okay, Angel is one of the original X-Men back in the day in the Stan Lee universe of that sort. You know, you got Cyclops, Jean, Beast before he's blue, Iceman, and Angel. Those are the 5 original characters. You know, so that's why I feel like if they're really gonna make like another X-Men one, they should just start off with those 5 guys already being old, and then like add in whoever else they want. But okay. So he's there, but when Apocalypse turns him into Apocalypse gets a hold of him. I can't remember exactly how. He converts him into like, because Angel's always been like that. Like I hate having these wings. People fucking make fun of me. They think I'm fucking gay or something like that. I don't know. He's always been hateful towards his wings. So he goes to this place where they're like, hey, well, you know what? We can get rid of these wings for you. You don't have to be a mutant anymore. Because he was always the guy who had a big problem with that. And Rogue was another one that was like, oh fuck, there's a place where Angel went to get rid of his power. I fucking want to get rid of my powers because I can't touch anybody. I grabbed a guy's dick one day and he fucking died on me.
She just keeps jerking like, is this better? Is this better? Just come on.
Fucking die.
Is it that bad? Is it that bad? Or is it that good?
So she finds him there, but really what happens is it's Mr. Sinister is in disguise of like a doctor, and he fucking gets him to Apocalypse, and Apocalypse turns him into Archangel, pretty much makes him like the sort of like the robot version of like Angel with the thing, and he puts him under his spell in a sense, and uses him as one of the main like 4 horsemen Apocalypse. Because the downfall is the other like Apocalypse members they use like in the comic books and like in the cartoon show and stuff like that are just like random ass guys that like you really don't know of. Just like here's some strange mutants that join forces. So I think in the movie it's kind of smart to use like okay we'll use fucking Storm, and they kind of use because that sort of origin of Storm where she's like stealing stuff like that's how she really did start off, and then instead it was the guy who's from the other dimension. Like the dark spirit thing in Africa. That's sort of like what kind of captures her at first and uses her for her bidding. So they use that. I can't think what the guy's name is. I'm drawing a blank. But they used almost like Apocalypse as that and brought her into one of the 4 horsemen, which I think was smart. And then I think Psylocke even worked well too because Psylocke's kind of been good, bad, so on, like throughout the comics. So that works there. And then Magneto, that's the one that feels a little bit weird. I mean, in the movie they kind of make it make sense, but I always just have a hard time believing Magneto would listen to somebody else.
Yeah. I will say that I think the whole thing with I was hoping that because I just surprised they killed Angel off. Like they made him seem like a bad guy the whole time.
Yeah, they like yeah, I'm fucking cage fighting, fucking down here. Look at this, fuck that blue guy. And then all of a sudden it's like he gets like
Blob.
I like how the one about Blob. They put him in like his total original costume. I thought that was badass, even though he was only in it for like a split second.
You even see Blob fight. You just saw his corpse.
Yeah,
he was just knocked out. Maybe he wasn't dead, but
and then have to fight Wolverine later on or whatnot.
But
Wolverine, but and then I like how then they got Angel. He gets his wings all like he gets thrown into the cage and electrifies it and tears all his wings up and whatnot from Nightcrawler. And then like later on he's just like in this like I don't know he's like in a dungy like old church building. He's like fucking drinking, listening to Metallica. Like yeah, fuck you guys. Look at my wings. And Apocalypse is like we can make your wings better. We can make them more powerful. Become the god that you want to be. I'm talking like how he should talk, and like not how he talks in the movie, but how he talks.
He's like where he kind of talks in a whisper, like I can make you more powerful. Just get into my van, Here's candy.
Exactly.
It's kind of how he comes across. And then when suddenly things go bad for him, he's just like, rah, rah, like when they auto-tune it, like fucking Kanye or something. And Oscar Isaac wasn't bad. I just think it was more just the way he was kind of written. I mean, he's just like, I am evil. The way he kind of always comes across.
Yeah, he comes across like that. I mean, no, I think as far as look and everything else, he does a pretty good job.
But
I just always picture, like in the cartoon show where he's like, Apocalypse. Look at my lips. Apocalypse.
He has a bad lisp. What if he's like the most badass villain in the universe? He just has a very annoying lisp. You listen here.
Well, it's not like he has
he has that big ass lip. He has that big ass lip with those catfish whiskers kind of go up the side of his face.
Yeah. No, I mean for the most part, I thought Apocalypse was pretty cool. Like I think they did a pretty good job on him.
It was one of those characters I thought we'd never see in the movies. So
well, I always knew that I'm like that always had to come at some point because to me it's like that's the main villain of X-Men. I know people might go like Magneto, but I'm like, well, Magneto's not really a villain. A real villain of X-Men is Apocalypse. That's like the ultimate one. I mean, then there's other people too. I guess you have Onslaught and things like that too.
I will,
but I think
I was just going to say real quick, I'm back in the older thing for a second. One of my favorite parts of the movie was the part when Archangel was when they're playing Metallica and he's like having the transformation. They just really amp up the Metallica songs. He's falling to the ground with the wings shooting out.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was cool too. And
it's like a metal album.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Like because there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. Like I did enjoy it. I'm not saying like anything like. I just think maybe it wasn't like it wasn't like the best X-Men experiences I've had with like the other ones. I mean, after having 9, especially after seeing Deadpool, I think that there is kind of a lot to be said. I'd probably say this is still like it's a pretty good one. I mean, there's never really been a bad X-Men movie.
It's probably mid-range for the X-Men movies. The mid-range.
Yeah, area. That's what I'd probably say too. It's like I don't think definitely not better than Days of Future Past, and probably not better than First Class. So out of that series of X-Men movies, I would probably say it's the least out of those.
Mm-hmm.
How it kind of compares with the other ones, probably on par at least. Because when I was watching X-Men 2, X-Men 2, it's a good movie. I think for the time, it was a really sweet movie. When you kind of go back, it's like, it's still fun. It's still got good action in it and so on like that. But it's almost kind of simple, it feels.
It's it's almost kind of like just a prison escape movie to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Like, it's actually, I guess I was watching, like, there's actually not a whole lot that sort of happens there. It's kind of like, starts off, Wolverine's looking at this prison, goes back, kind of explains what he's doing. Fucking people break in, trying to get him. Wolverine fights him off, tells Colossus to get the fuck out of here. And then, you want some help? Get the fuck out of here!
You'll be replaced by a CG character 10 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, next thing you know, it's like, there's a couple scenes of Nightcrawler and a couple, like, other, like, mid stuff, and then they're back there at that, dam, kind of finding a way through. It's just amazing. Actually, it's kind of simple, but it's still fun, still good. It has a really great intro, though. Like, that fucking Nightcrawler busted to the White House. That right there is probably one of the best scenes of that whole film. As far as X-Men Apocalypse goes, it is just, I still think it's a good movie. It's fun. I think X-Men 10, that one right there, I think would be a real fucking dialed-in movie. Because, you won't have any origin stuff whatsoever. You'll probably have it be full-on. These X-Men characters are ready. You're going to have Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Jean, Storm, fucking Beast, everybody kicking fucking ass. It's going to feel kind of weird because I know for a fact that Mystique's probably the main character of the movie, and that's strange. But whatever. It's not the worst thing. It's not like it's a bad character. It's not like... it's not like making Black Widow fucking being like the lead of the Avengers, and you're like, what the fuck is this? I don't want to watch this anymore. It's one of those ones where there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that it'll finally have it in where they can just kind of start off as like the fucking X-Men fighting right in the beginning. Maybe have a cameo by Deadpool, have a cameo by Wolverine, and then just, have a Mr. Sinister battle, and hopefully just keep the flow going. I think it should be real dialed in, especially if they go like, hey, let's put them in their fucking X-Men costumes. Let's make this as X-Men as can be.
They're probably gonna now 90s nostalgia is a thing. So the next one's definitely a 90s movie.
Well, yeah, plus with that it's been 60s, 70s, 80s. It's like 90s, boom, right there.
Yeah, but plus I will say, usually when they have like the X-Men opening, it's always just kind of like they have the X-Men theme, da na na da na na. It's this guy going through. It looks like DNA or sometimes circuitry or something like that. This one was really weird. It's kind of like going through. Okay, we're going through pyramids. It makes sense because we just opened up with a pyramid. Then all of a sudden it's just like we're going by a choo-choo train. Then we're going by a fucking swastika. Then we're going by like zeppelins. Just like, well, what the fuck? I get time has moved on. You could have probably just cut into the next scene. I would have got the concept, oh, we're no longer in ancient Egypt. But it's just like, because I thought, is he going to be here the whole time, the apocalypse, like causing havoc in the whole world? Like, oh no, just in the ancient days. It's just so weird. It's just like, okay, in this little tube thing, like, okay, going by Zeppelin. It just I don't know. It just felt so weird to me. I don't know what it is. Like it was like a 3D ride at Universal Studios or something.
Well, you know what it is? They've been doing those in all the X-Men movies. It's kind of almost like the signature thing where everybody else, I think, kind of dropped those. Like, I think because those title sequences, once again, in the early 2000s, if you made a really sweet CG title sequence, because Spider-Man had it too and all kinds of stuff like that, that was sort of the thing to do, where nobody's really doing that too much anymore. So X-Men's just kind of carrying on their tradition, I guess.
Well, I guess you want to make it a little different. The other ones make sense because, the first one is just like it cells and all that it's going through. Second one, it was like some cell stuff and then a bunch of like circuitry and computer stuff. Then I think they dropped it for a little while. And they came back to it again. And I know they came back for it in Days of Future Past. But this one just seems so weird. It's just more like, X-Men presents the History Channel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's kind of what they're just showing evil things throughout the years and so on and stuff like that.
Maybe that's what it's trying to do. Like, I don't know.
But
then they went by like a statue of Jesus for a second.
Yeah, evil things throughout the years.
Maybe it's trying to go like the Spanish Inquisition or something.
Exactly. But another sweet movie that came out a little bit prior, but I feel like didn't get enough. Well, I mean, apparently it got a lot of commercials, but I don't know if as many people saw it. But was a real sweet film. Was Nice Guys. Fucking Shane Black writing and directing it.
I'll say this. That might be, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. Definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a real good one. I'd say for sure on the top 10 list so far. I liked it a lot. It was funny. It had a lot of good action in it. It had a really good story with a good twist and everything in there too. Good murder mystery. The '70s stuff in it was really nice. They played it out well. I like the things they used. Like, when you saw a poster, it wasn't like you just saw Jaws. You saw Jaws 2. It was like the big movie poster out there. And they dropped by a comedy club later on, and it's like, well, who was on the list there? It was Tim Allen. I thought that was just a neat, like, the polls that they had were cool when it came down to that.
And they also had, like, things, it's kind of one of those movies that, like, well, first off, let's just say the whole, like, odd couple thing between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling works totally fine. It's perfect because Russell Crowe is just kind of like he's like reached this point where he don't give a fuck. He's just tired. He doesn't want to do he doesn't really like his job. He just does it anyway, and he's just a guy you pay to rough someone up. Ryan Gosling is a private eye, but he's just not that good.
Yeah, it's kind of sleazy. He's an alcoholic. He's sort of a loser, But what makes this movie kind of nice too is they almost got like the age range in it. It's like there's almost somebody for everybody, and everybody does a good job. I mean, you got Ryan Gosling's daughter, who's like 13 years old, and she's got her friends and everything like that, and they all work out really good. They're great characters. Then you got Ryan Gosling, who's around 30, so there's your kind of young adult. Then you got Russell Crowe, who's like in his 40s, going on maybe 50 almost. He's kind of like just regular, guy. And then there's even some older and senior citizens and so on. So it's just got this great age range of like balance throughout just everything in there. Most movies you kind of get like, well, here's our audience, boom. Because you can always mostly tell who the movie's made for by whoever the main characters are. If your main characters have to be kids, it's pretty much a kids movie. If your main characters have to be like senior citizens, it's probably made for old people. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you can't watch it, but I mean, that's who your target audience is. Where this one's like, it's got such a diverse range, you could almost see this movie for all types of people.
And like the comedy in it's just like it's that type of humor I just love. Just that it's not even just like the spoken words. It's more of just kind of like the simple things. Like there's a part where Ryan Gosling's at this porno party. He's hitting on this girl. And then he tries to be all slick and just kind of like roll off like the back of this balcony. He doesn't come back up. And she looks down. And he's just like still in mid-roll, just keeps on going like it was way more steeper than he imagined. Like it's one of the few times, because it's really hard to do physical comedy and not come across cheesy. But this one does a fantastic job of it. Mostly because most of the physical comedy is someone getting punched in the face, and that's usually pretty funny. But he just keeps on going down the hill, and then like he's already hammered by this point, and then
what's the funny part about it is like him and Russell Crowe, they finally, because what happens is they start off and Russell Crowe comes by and fucking beats the shit out of Ryan Gosling because some little girl, paid him off to say, hey, I want this creep guy like follow me around and stuff. So he beats him up. That's sort of how they're introduced to each other. But as time goes on, there's this case that they're both working on. So they decide they got to like team up on it, and at first Ryan Gosling's reluctant to it, but he decides to join forces. So they go to this porno club, and that's where they start doing their investigations. Except for Ryan Gosling, since he's such a shitty kind of investigator, he's there, he's already getting hammered and everything like that. And even his daughter shows up, and technically she's the only one doing the real investigations. And Russell Crowe, he's not drinking or anything like that, but he's still out doing his thing. So that's almost like what kind of makes the comedy sort of happen, is that Ryan Gosling just kind of like fucks up.
Ryan Gosling fucks up. Russell Crowe is put in a situation where he has to hit somebody, and the little girl gets most of the work done.
Exactly. So Russell Crowe's throwing punches, little girl's doing investigating, and Ryan Gosling's just drinking and making jokes.
And the movie's very self-aware in some aspects, but not in a nudge, wink thing. It's just that kind of shit you really want to think about in movies. There's this part where the little girl tries to pull a fast one on this one lady with a gun. She comes in just like, she's like, oh, so you thought you'd come in, pretend to be room service and give them their guns or something, right? Well, then all of a sudden, she turns her face for a second, she grabs a pot of coffee, throws it on her, then she just pauses, looks at her, did you just throw cold coffee on me? She's like, I thought it was going to be hot, it was just, you didn't, why'd you throw it? Just like, it was just in the hallway, I just assumed it was hot, and I thought this would work, and
I like it's like, he's like, good one, honey, good one,
and then all of a sudden, like, then the lady just
you're thinking creative there. I like the way you think.
And then like the lady just like takes a step and slips, hits her head on something, and that right there, so it kind of worked out anyway.
But it doesn't feel like, there's nothing like, it's not like breaking the fourth wall or anything like that, But yeah, there's just some real well thought out both comedy and action bits. And then I also think there's the kind of the murder mystery sort of works. I mean, I had this just Shane Black firing on all cylinders, which Shane Black pretty much is always doing good. I mean, you look at Lethal Weapon, fucking fantastic. You look at him in Predator, he's great. Him fucking writing Monster Squad, early on, and then even later on, he's got other movies and so on. But this movie right here, I feel like, it's all dialed in.
Then there's the part where it's kind of like is it the same? Oh yeah, it's a little before this part. It's kind of like how, like I said, like you said, it's kind of like self-aware without breaking the fourth wall. There's this other scene where they had some the thing that happens in every single like murder mystery movie where they got some misinformation. I'm like, wait, no, that's not it. It's really this over here, and they're getting all amped up. They're going there, like, I know this is it. They get there, like, yeah, this closed down like 2 years ago. Yeah.
No, what it is, it's like they're trying to figure it out. It's like, it's got to be this. It's this airport. That's what it's got to be. Come on, well, let's go. We'll get in the car. We'll go drive there. And then they just start pulling up to these apartments next to the airport. And there's just some guy walking his dog or something like that. And they're like, oh, yeah, it closed down 2 years ago. You're like, yeah, I've been here for a while. So they look at you. No, it's got to be the other one then.
Then they drive on. Then it cuts them. They just drive and they're quiet. Like, I'm sorry. I just figured, it could only be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It just, it happens. Like, no, I'm just sorry because I thought I knew, just kind of like that awkward like thing they never do in the movies. But then they come across what they're looking for eventually anyway.
Well, I kind of like that. To me, that feels more realistic. You know what I mean? That's that kind of thing where you think you know what you're doing, then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, oh fuck, that wasn't it. Well, I guess we got to go over here now. In movies, a lot of times they kind of just iron that stuff out and just make it out that everybody's perfect. They national treasure it, where everybody's fucking thinking is perfect and is on all cylinders as possible, and having that just no matter what, like, I know what the answer is, It's something that's kind of nice to have, where it's like, yeah, they don't always know what the answer is,
And this right here, there's the part where they're kind of going to like, what's not the last shootout, but going to be a big shootout of the movie. And it's the whole perfect setup for it. But then when they get there, there's shooting going on. Like, oh, fuck. They kind of get back into there. They just see some guy getting shot. They go back in the over, go down. Then all of a sudden, as they're going down, a guy falls right by him past the other. Was that the fuck? Oh, shit.
No, yeah. There's just, great action. You get good shootouts and everything like that. You get fucking Russell Crowe taking people out left and right, doing what he's, born to do.
It's kind of funny because Russell Crowe, for a long time, he was like the guy who's just like, I'm in shape. I'm just cut. I'm fucking trim. Kind of like how he was
Gladiator.
Yeah, exactly. And then as time went on, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I like cheeseburgers. Give me a Hawaiian t-shirt. And that's kind of what he totally is in this movie. But he's still a tough guy. He still is totally a badass.
He's just husky. That's just like the thing. But I think it works really well for that character.
Like, I'm talking that shit on him, but I'm going to say I know for a fact he could kick my ass. So don't take it as me being, oh, this fat, sloppy fuck. I know that he could still, like, knock some people around.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of like he's got that... Well, I always say that, you got kind of your different types of action heroes. And he's more like in that sort of, like, Bruce Willis, like Mel Gibson, Kurt Russell, where it's like I always feel like they feel like the average guys. The average guys are really talented, but they don't feel like larger than life, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Stallone or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like Jean-Claude Van Damme, where they just have that feel like, well, I know I can never achieve that level. But you look like, it's like you watch Bruce Willis Die Hard. It's like you feel like if I was, I could see being like that. That's realistic. It doesn't feel like beyond your like potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes like Russell Crowe. He does just feel like your regular kind of tough guy. More, nothing less.
And another thing is, I think what's also kind of interesting is, it's going to sound kind of weird and creepy when I say this at first, but you'll see what I mean in a second.
I think the daughter's really no.
Even though it's
it's going to say weird and creepy at first, but
no, not that. I was going to tell you that when the microphone was off, dude. Why do you got to keep it recording when I say that shit? No, there was.
Yeah, fuck, I'm not going to lie. I kind of just started jerking off during that shit now.
Don't judge me.
Don't judge me. Hey, just because my dick got harder when Ryan Gosling came on the screen, it's not my fault.
He's just a very pretty man. I can't help it. It's his fault.
I just want to be like him.
Tell me how.
Give me the gauze.
No,
put the gauze in me.
I'll say this one. Actually, let me say what I was going to say originally. The movie's almost about like this. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's almost like even though it's Ryan Gosling's daughter, it's almost a little bit more of kind of like a bonding story between Ryan Gosling's daughter and Russell Crowe, which sounds kind of weird and creepy when you put it that way.
It's like he's like a surrogate father, sort of like.
But like he's kind of there for her in a way that Ryan Gosling's not. Not Ryan Gosling's not there for her, but just like he's kind of limited because he's kind of like damaged. But then Russell Crowe.
It leads up to like that sitcom like My Two Dads.
That's a good point. Something kind of like that, or it's also something to the idea of like she kind of, without trying to sound cheesy, she kind of helps him gain a little bit of humanity because he's so used to just knocking people the fuck out that he's kind of put in a position where he has to be kind of nice to this girl, and that actually kind of makes him a little bit more of like a
humanized.
She's the one that kind of makes him a little bit more human.
Yeah, because he's this kind of guy who does a job and that's it. Doesn't have much more to it.
And he doesn't do it in a cheesy, or it's not in a very cheesy or over the top way. It actually is pretty believable the way they go about it. Except there's one or two scenes like, don't kill him, Mr. Russell. There's like one or two scenes kind of like that.
Yeah, she has like some weird like hippie thing where she like is all against like killing.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if people are really bad people, for some reason she doesn't want to see them die.
Yeah, which it's like, okay, that's sweet, but
it's kind of a weird one because it's like it doesn't. That's about the part of the movie where it's sort of like I can kind of see what trying to get across is that she's just this little hippie girl who doesn't really like. She's not old enough yet to realize that the world is just really horrible and evil, and some things just should be put to rest. She's at that like very optimistic point of life still, I think, and maybe that's what it's. I mean, obviously that's what I was trying to get across. Like he didn't know what the fuck he was writing when he put that in there. It's not like that, but it does seem kind of like one of those ones where maybe that's supposed to be kind of saying like, hey, Russell Crowe, you don't have to be a killer. I mean, I don't know if that's what it's trying to get across. Like, you can beat people up, just don't kill them. That's what Batman do.
Well, there's the one guy, I actually even chuckled in this part. This part was supposed to be dark, but I this is what a sick fuck I am. This part was supposed to be dark, but I kind of laughed. It's like, yeah, I fucking knew it. There's the part where, like, there's the one asshole, the most annoying, like, right-hand man in the whole... I mean, I'm glad he's there, because he's there to be hated, and he kind of gets what's coming to him. This guy gets hit by a car, and he's just mangled. This guy's pretty fucked. He might live. He might live if the ambulance gets there in time. And he's going after to kill the girl. And then what ends up happening is once the girl kind of goes around the corner to go call an ambulance, Russell Crowe goes up to him. He's like, and just like slowly just strangles the guy. Look at him like, fuck yeah. And the little girl comes.
Once I feel like it's like, fuck that guy.
And the little girl comes.
I guess the real main point of this movie we never even got across is that the whole point they're looking for this girl, both Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. That's how they team together. And this girl's kind of like the key to everything. And that's where all the twists and turns sort of come from. Is this girl you don't really know much about her, and then you finally start to see her, and there's all these other people trying to track her down as well too. And then you even fucking... then what's her name comes into play? Fucking Vicky Vale. I can't think what her name is. Vicky Vale in the 1989 Batman.
I don't remember her real name either, but yeah. She was also in Grudge Match.
I don't know why I can't think of it, but whatever. She's kind of in there, and she kind of hires both Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling to track her down because this happens to be her daughter, everything like that. And then later on, you realize why she's tracking her down is because of the fact that pretty much the daughter's almost like sort of a hippie terrorist activist, whatever you want to say, fighting against, her mom and like the corruption of LA. And she even leads these like freedom fighter hippies that are out doing protests and so on. And the mom's trying to put an end to this because her mom's totally in charge of all the police department and whatnot. It's got this weird thing because it's used like the gas crisis in there too of the 70s. And the mom, fucking Vicky Vale, is in charge of all this, of putting into that, the converter that would give 70 miles to the gallon and trying to get, the most amount of money out of fucking Americans by, hindering gas.
I just realized this is kind of like Jor-El versus Vicky Vale.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. With, I guess Ryan Gosling hasn't been anybody yet.
Well, he hasn't been any superheroes yet, but yeah. Only matter of time.
He hasn't been someone. You're not someone yet until you're in a comic.
I know that he's a really big star, and I'm sure Ezra Miller will do a good job, but I think Ryan Gosling would be a great Barry Allen.
Oh my god, he would be perfect for that.
I mean, I think you just get Grant Gustin.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But I mean, if you're not going to do it...
If you do separate universe, might as well just get Ryan Gosling, because he looks a lot like Barry Allen. But anyway, I'm sure Ezra Miller will do good. But anyway, the other thing about this is, like, just the humor, like, towards, like, some of the stuff, like, when they're making fun of, like, the environmentalists, like, the environmentalists, activists and all that. There's a part of where they're all looking for this one particular girl. They're all laying down, like, pretending to be dead. Like, hey, we're...
Like, oh, the pollution of LA, it's getting us. It has, like, signs or something that say that.
Just like, you can't talk, you're dead. And he's just walking down the stairs, actually steps on one of their hands, like, what? It's like, ow!
Well, because they're like, where's Miranda, or whatever her name is? They're like, where is she? And after a while, they're like, we can't fucking talk. We're a bunch of douchebag hippies and stuff. And he's like, yeah, so where the fuck is she? And stuff. And they start sitting on their hands and everything like that.
One guy's like, hey, man, this is what? I thought you were fucking dead. It just keeps walking.
And then I like this Russell Crowe down because they all have these gas masks and everything like that. And he's all, if you're all dead, what's the point of the gas masks?
And one of them just kind of doesn't say anything, just kind of looks like deep in thought for a minute.
Like it's just that typical dumb hippie thing. Like they're trying to do the right thing, but they come across looking like actually morons in like long run. And then like, first they're like, who wants to make $20? One of the guys just fucking raises his hand instantly. And it's actually funny because then it leads on to like they go to this house that burned down and they're like trying to like, well, you know, this is where she was hanging out and there was a director guy here or whatnot and he had all this film and it ended up burning up. And then this fucking like 10-year-old bicycle rides by and stuff. They're like, hey, kid, no fucking litter or whatnot. He starts giving all these questions and stuff and he's kind of like snarky about it. And then he keeps going farther and farther and he's like, well, how'd you know so much about it? He's like, well, you know, I can't write shit and whatnot. He's like, they're making porno movies. He's like, yeah, I got a big dick. You want to see it? He's like this 10-year-old kid going, yeah, it's fucking huge. You want to see it? No, we don't want to fucking see it. And they just go like, he almost does like, you're a loss.
Yeah.
It's just funny because like I don't think I've ever seen a scene like that in a movie where it's a fucking 10-year-old kid.
10-year-old kid asks someone like, oh yeah, I got a big dick. Want to see it?
Yeah, that's what made me laugh because that's the main thing in movies or in anything for that matter is whenever you can show me something I've never seen before. That to me is always like one of the best things, you know. It's like give me something I've never seen. That's always cool. I think so. A 10-year-old kid fucking wants to show his dick.
And they call him back like, "Hey kid, you want to see it?" Like, no, we had a different question.
Yeah, he's
just so gung ho to show someone.
If this 10-year-old kid had all this knowledge.
No, this is definitely though easily one of my favorite movies of the year.
Oh yeah, it is really fucking good. And at the moment I was kind of glad to see it. It was still pretty, you know, had a crowded cinema and whatnot, which is always good. That's always my indication. It was more crowded than probably probably not just as crowded as X-Men, but, you know, for a movie like this, that's what it kind of needs. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, everything about it was just fun, funny, good characters, great story, really nothing to complain about. I mean, there's a couple parts where maybe Ryan Gosling goes a little bit, like, far on the comedy. He pulls some stuff to it was almost slapsticky. Not enough. I remember there was this big black guy in the back of the audience, like, and he was just going like, oh man, he's pulling an Abbott Costello bit. Oh, that Abbott Costello, I fucking saw it. Abbott is just like, Jesus Christ. And this guy must really fucking love Abbott Costello, like, which is so weird. Just picture some big black guy watching like old-timey Abbott Costello bits and just being like, oh man, they got so hilarious. It's
one of the few times like the extra commentary in the theater. It's like, actually no, this is actually kind of funny. Like, you can go.
No, because every once in a while there's funny things, like somebody can add something in there that's pretty darn funny. It doesn't distract from it at all.
One time, like usually like talking movies pisses me off, and usually when someone walks in the theater and screams, it pisses me off. But I was watching, I think it was Return of the King, and it was like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. Some guy just walks in and says like, thanks for waiting, Tom! You know?
It's like those ones, like every once in a while, it's okay. Like if the timing is right, it can be pretty funny. Uh-huh. But yeah, Nice Guys, totally fun. Go check them out. Yeah. Should definitely still be playing, even though it'll probably be knocked off pretty darn soon with how many other movies are coming out.
How many superhero? I don't want to sound like this guy, like old fogey, like with how many superhero movies are coming out. You know, I think because it is true that Pete, like Hollywood only wants to produce superhero movies, and I like superhero movies, but I am glad to see like just something that's kind of a break from it, like this or Magnificent Seven when that comes out.
Yeah, you need that diversity. That's what makes the superhero movies better, anyways.
So
but speaking of like. One more thing I want to kind of here. They had this Future Quest comic that came out because DC's kind of DC finally, you know, they've owned Hanna-Barbera for God knows how long, and it's kind of like those ones. Like, I'm like, why have they not really utilized it yet? Like they're kind of missing out. And that one I saw there, it's like being a humongous Johnny Quest and Space Ghost fan, like along with like Herculoids, Thundar, like those are all the shows that I watched as a kid. But sometimes if you explain that to somebody, they'd be like, well, were you fucking born in the 60s? Like, no, but that's what Cartoon Network showed was a bunch of reruns of Hanna-Barbera stuff. Yeah, because you didn't put two and two together at that time, but you didn't realize it's like, oh, that literally was the Hanna-Barbera channel.
In the 90s primarily, yeah.
But this one right here, badass, starts off kind of like, you know, Space Ghost getting started in his origin, and then it cuts to like Johnny Quest, you know, and the thing about it just feels like they're right out of the 60s, but just like written real well. The animation, but the artwork in it's fantastic, and they're kind of combining them all together. It's got a little bit of Birdman in this one. They haven't got the Herculoids or any of the other guys yet, but just how these all kind of tie together. But it sort of works because at first it seemed kind of weird. Like Johnny Quest, like the other ones, I can see fitting all together. Johnny Quest always feels a little bit like. But maybe the whole point of having that there is because Johnny Quest is kind of like the realistic.
Is Race Band in there, or is just Johnny and Haji?
Nope, Race Band there. Dr. Quest is there. They don't have Jessie in there, which I don't know if they're going to put her in there because she came from the 80s. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. They might not. They might just be doing 60s only.
Do you think there's a possibility of what was I going to say? Actually,
because I always thought Jessie always worked well anyways, because that adds just a female character to like man time. But
do you think is it like more like PG-13 or is it still kind of kid friendly?
No, I'd say it's more like PG-13. Like this to me, like it's it's kid friendly enough. It's not like Haji's like, Johnny, you want to see my dick? It's not like any of that stuff. But
$10 to see it. It's huge.
I tried to get into a porno movie, but then Dr. Quest grabbed me up.
It took me to America instead.
He found me on the side of the street and said, "Boy, you can carry my bags." But no, it's more like, well, my son needs a fucking playmate, so that's what you're going to be.
Look, son, I bought a boy.
Here, I know you always wanted to have one. Thanks, Dad. I can dress him up and give him toy guns and shoot him with the... You can do whatever you want. Just don't fuck him.
Just go outside away from me.
Stay the fuck away. This is how I can get you out of the lab.
Race, just watch. Just fucking make sure he doesn't choke on a Lego or some shit.
Well, that's kind of like Race Band is literally just hired just to protect the Quest family. Like, that's the whole point. Because Dr. Quest is such like a superb scientist. They want fucking people to come by and just take him out. They got to have...
Doesn't want parenting to get in the way of science.
So they got to get this guy who's fucking pure military, like, badass to be... take care of two kids and their dog.
Dad, what happened to my mom? Well, son, turns out you don't have a mom. You were a test tube baby. I didn't have the time to reproduce, you know?
You know, science.
Here, I can't kill you. I would have just... you were a test subject. You were a success, I guess. So, you know, I would just throw you on the street, but I mean, technically you are a living citizen of the United States, so I can't do that.
No,
so
like,
here's your new dad.
They treat it almost like if you watch this stuff as a kid, this is made for you to watch it to read as an adult. Like, because technically, this is clearly not made for kids, because kids probably have no idea who the fuck any of these characters are. This is clearly made for an older audience that, like, grew up watching Space Ghost and Johnny Quest and Thundar and all the guys, you know, fucking Herculoids, Birdman. They got, like, all their fucking, in a sense, comic book characters that were animation characters in there. And yeah, so far for a first issue, it's great. I literally feel like I'm just watching like a brand new episode of Johnny Quest, but just like totally on par. Mm-hmm. Like, just it still has that feel too. Like, you know, they're like Johnny Quest and Hodge, they're up flying around on like their jetpacks. Like, oh man, this is great. And Race is like, oh yeah, I remember having that feeling the first time that I flew in a jetpack. It still has this like a little bit like that 60s kind of chuckle. But though I like having that. You know what I mean? It feels really legitimate. And then it's like, I think another thing too, because I haven't read it yet, but they have that Scooby-Doo fucking Jim Lee's like apocalyptic one. Which, the cool thing is they're treating this one kind of serious, too. It's like the teenage book and everything like that, and I kind of flipped through it, and you look like you're reading like a fucking Batman issue or something like that. It doesn't come across as like, you know, the other Scooby-Doo ones were always felt kind of like, you know, they're kind of almost like 8-year-old comics, 10-year-old comics. Not saying anything against Scooby-Doo, but that's kind of how they were made for, you know? But this one looks like it's almost kind of made more for, you know, like an older audience, strangely enough.
To their full potential,
which I think that's kind of cool. If they're going to utilize those Hanna-Barbera things, might as well take them to the next level. Yeah, because I think all those things they have, they don't have to be pigeonholed to being like, you know, just total kid material. Why not use it? And plus, I think just the Future Quest thing, I think that's just a brilliant idea. I hope that lasts because, you know, as I said, it's like that's going to sell super well to someone like me. But, you know, hopefully there's enough of like Hanna-Barbera fans out there. And it's almost like what the comic's like made for like our dads when you really break it down.
Yeah, but yeah, I know my dad's not gonna pick it up. Like, oh, they still come out with this shit. I mean, my dad doesn't have a lot of nostalgia. That's, I mean, he wanted to see Star Wars, but beyond that, though, it's kind of like he'll see something like,
exactly,
fuck,
like
they still make that.
In a sense, a lot of that stuff, like, I mean, they turned Space Ghost and Birdman and all those guys into kind of comedy shows, which, even though I love those, there was kind of downfall where it's almost like, maybe this is how somebody who was really into Batman felt about the 66 show when it came out, like, they're not treating Batman serious. I mean, come on, like, he was a real serious guy, and now everybody just thinks of him as a joke for, like, you know, a while. Which, you know, that eventually faded away, just kind of been like, oh, yeah, that's just a place and time. Where I think hopefully now we can get to a point where it's like, oh, okay, Space Ghost isn't just, you know, a laughable, like, TV, you know, fucking late-night host. He can go back to being this really badass character. Because I always thought Space Ghost was one of the coolest, like, classic superheroes that, you know, almost has been stuck in the past. Like, I mean, I got, like, they had that one book that came out that had all the art by...
Ross?
Yeah, Alex Ross. And that book, even though there's like 4 issues in it, it was totally badass. I wish there was more of it. That was all there was.
I can honestly see them, given all the shit they're, you know, they're now they're trying to do, I mean, who knows, maybe be good, but I doubt it. They're trying to do the Hasbro universe, and they're reaching back to all these 80s toys, and
I'm a little too mixed match. I think that's the problem. Is like, the universe thing only works when your characters are together. Because really, the thing that makes this one work is it's like, okay, in the Future one, they're not using like Flintstones and Jetsons and, you know, fucking Top Cat or something, and that would be fucking
They're using
weird.
all the action ones. They're using all
they're using all their action ones. The only one that seems, and I say this, but I think it works, is Johnny Quest feels maybe slightly out of place, but I think what that's supposed to be is that's your realistic kind of characters, and then everything else is kind of sci-fi and fantasy. So Johnny is your center ground. He's in a sense the main character. He's almost like your relatable character, so that you can have all these fantasy and sci-fi characters come together. So I think it totally works. But if they would have thrown fucking Top Cat and fucking Pink Panther, or not Panther, but you know, like Yogi Bear fucking all running on the cover, that would have thrown it off. I think that's kind of what Hasbro's trying to do, but it's kind of like
Huckleberry
you could have maybe G.I. Joe versus the Transformers, But I don't think you could have any of the other ones combined together. I think those are the only two that can, even though that's still a little bit of a stretch.
But as I was saying, I can see them possibly trying to eventually do maybe like a, maybe not a total crossover thing like this, but almost try and do like, a Space Ghost live action movie or something like that. I can see them possibly.
Well, that's what I hope. I hope that's what comes out of this, is that if this gets popularity enough, they can maybe start bringing those characters back, because they're sort of lost in time at the moment. But I don't know.
Get Zorak, and maybe not like, maybe even though I love like, 90s Brack.
Evil Brack.
Go back to evil, kind of like 60s Brack, yeah. I just kind of funny, just like they saw him, just like, let's give him the derpiest voice. Like, hey guys, I'm Brack. That had to be like a couple of stoned, like 26-year-old like guys working audio at Cartoon Network late night, just like fucking with the dials and just like editing, like, hey everybody, I'm Brack. Because you look at him, he's like this evil space mercenary cat thing,
Yeah, and then he's just like the dopiest one on the show.
Then there's even that was like, even though it was still on like Cartoon Network before Adult Swim, it was kind of lead into Adult Swim, and they even just had some of the stupidest, like just most brain dead shit that was like probably like your parents like, I don't want you watching this. They had the thing like, roses are red, roses are blue, it's time for Poets Corner. Yahoo! Remember that from Coast to Coast?
Exactly, I remember that. Well, straight enough, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, that was like one of my dad's favorite shows in like the 90s. He would always come home and watch like every single fucking episode.
There's two Space Ghost ones. There's one where it's just him like interacting with like the different with different guests they had.
Well, there's one that's like, it's pretty much like the Late Show or the Tonight Show or whatever. There's that one, and then it progressed into like a variety show almost.
Yeah.
Like as the seasons went on, because then they started having just like almost like skits and segments.
Mm-hmm. And then they just have like, yeah, and like I don't know, it was just such like, even though it was like, it was technically on kids programming, it reached a point where it was like total stoner comedy that most kids probably wouldn't even get.
Well, that's really, it really is like literally the intro to Adult Swim. I think that's like, by watching that, once that got kind of popular, I think that's where Cartoon Network's like, maybe we got to put this in. If we have any more stuff like this, it's got to have its own segment. This can't be just fucking.
I remember Adult Swim started the year I was in 8th grade, so I think they're just like, all right, I think we got something here, but let's just wait till a little bit of like our audience is like probably like 13,
even though we're calling
14,
adults, technically you're really for teenagers. Which I think was the smartest thing, though. It's like, that's like the smartest thing somebody can do is grow up their audience, and by putting that in there. But perfect example, growing up your audience, I think this Future Quest thing is by not turning it into like a 10-year-old's kind of comic book, and just going like, no, okay, it's going to feel kind of classic. It's not going to be like edgy or something like that. We're going to make it legitimate. Like, let's just go full on. We'll treat it though, like, so it's supposed to be made for an adult in a sense, like, because that's obviously who's going to appreciate it more.
I'll have to check that one out. I'll probably have to get on Comixology or something.
Yeah, like if you see that, pick that one up. The Future Quest one's really cool, and then definitely go buy that DC Rebirth one. That story is really sweet. Plus, it can't be $3 for something that's like 3 issues long. No ads whatsoever. Yeah. But that's probably a good place to wrap all this fun up. Make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more. And until then, I'm Spencer Scott.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.